So I was scrolling through Twitter the other day and I saw a tweet that made me stop and go, huh. Now, although it doesn't specifically name me directly, I couldn't help but feel a bit called out by it, especially as I'd previously had a little bit of email contact with Steve Kaywood, who I think is the main man behind DDI Interactive in the past. Now, the thing is, you see, I genuinely do want to throw my support behind great indie developed retro racing games. It's just that, well, some of the ones I've bought in the past that looked really great in static pictures and YouTube videos just turned out to be a bit, well, shit really. There was often just something missing in that all-important bit of arcade racer secret sauce. The handling would just feel a bit off, or something was somehow lacking in the gameplay, or else something which should be an intuitive gameplay mechanic was just fundamentally lacking. So I've just been feeling a bit apathetic towards some of these indie titles of late. But having felt a bit called out, indirectly or not, I felt sort of obliged to give DDI Interactive's latest title, Super Retro GP, a try, as in all fairness I was exactly one of those YouTubers talking the talk about wanting more arcade racers. So I downloaded the demo, fired up the video capture and thought, right, let's get this over and done with then. And then I started to play it, and then play it some more, and then keep playing it more still. And I realised something remarkable was happening. I'd gone into this video project with a very workmanlike attitude to it, but wouldn't you know it, I was actually having fun playing this. I mean, who'd have thunk it? When I first tried the Golden Gate Bridge level, my initial reaction after I timed out on the third of 5 laps was, well, this time limit is completely ridiculous. How's anyone supposed to beat that? On a beginner level too. Pfft. But I felt compelled to keep plugging away at it, and before I knew it, I was shaving seconds off my lap times, feeling pleased with myself as I successfully navigated my way through a particular corner that was giving me trouble before, berating myself for stupidly catching my tyres on a corner I'd successfully conquered before, feeling the layouts of the track and the racing lines starting to make sense in my brain. And when I finally crossed that finish line in first place, it felt earned and I felt elated. But I'm jumping way ahead of myself here. As soon as you load up Super Retro GP, the biggest influence on the game should be pretty obvious. It really feels like a love letter to Sega's Virtua Racing. The 2 playable levels here visually share a lot with the beginner and advanced levels from Sega's 1992 Model 1 Classic. But it's not just that, it's also in things like the way the camera pans around the track in the attract mode, the designs of the F1 style cars, and in particular the colours of one of them. And also down to other things like the in-game font and the Japanese sounding announcer lady.
Super Retro GP.
These are all things that please me greatly. Oh, and I love the Fate Arcade test menu boot up screen, complete with some very apt early 90s Sega English style text, advising you to please hands off for minutes. As mentioned, 2 levels are playable in this demo, along with 2 cars, out of what looks to be a huge roster of tracks and vehicles in the finished game. Menus are easy to navigate and intuitive. Just playing using my Xbox 360 pad, I found the default X-axis sensitivity a bit too twitchy, but lowering the setting down to 10 seemed much better. It looks like there's some wheel options too, with an option for force feedback, but I haven't actually dug out my trusty old DFGT Logitech wheel out of storage to give these a try. Once you get in game, the Virtua Racing style visuals are bold, crisp, pin sharp, and move at a very brisk 60 frames a second. The game isn't 100% trying to mimic the old Sega Model 1 style though, and does have some concessions towards modernity, with options that let you select the resolution of the screen, the quality preset, and other options like vertical sync, anti-aliasing, bloom, ambient occlusion and motion blur. Draw distance was also excellent, with big geometric objects like bridges and mountain ranges panning and scaling onto the screen nicely. I don't know if I was just imagining this, but I swear it seemed like the bloom effects might be dynamic, like I was noticing the glow of the sun on different bits of the track at different times. So to summarise, the visuals are great, and most importantly for an arcade racer, the game is fast. It goes at a fair old lick. There's a CRT display option too, that at first I couldn't see what it was doing. I thought it was going to add scan lines, but I realised on reviewing my video it had curved the sides of the TV screen. You know, to make it look like a proper old school TV, rather than the 50-inch flat screen monstrosity you've probably got sat in your living room. Controls are very responsive, and gameplay feels very similar to me to Virtua Racing 2. There's no drifting going on here, you're braking through corners, trying to find the optimum racing line. I felt at first like any collision with a wall was causing a bit too much speed loss, but eventually this just made me try harder not to collide with anything. Equally, CPU collisions seem to be well handled. A gentle collision knocks you off course a bit and slows you down, but doesn't completely wreck your race. The in-game music also is very reminiscent of Virtua Racing, playing a jingle when you go through checkpoints only, rather than a continuous tune playing throughout the race. So all in all, I really enjoyed what I've seen here. I've only really got one criticism, which is how the CPU cars behave. In all the time I was trying to get that first place on the Bay Bridge style level, it was generally quite easy to get into first place early on in the first lap, and what was providing the difficulty was actually trying to finish the stage without running out of time. In fairness, this was actually an issue that the PlayStation 2 port of Virtua Racing suffered from too, although this was not the case with the arcade original. It'd be nice if the CPU cars could maybe not be so bunched up, so that it feels like you're progressing more position wise each lap, as well as beating the clock, but I really am nitpicking there. So I've been very pleasantly surprised here by just how good this demo of Super Retro GP has turned out to be. It looks professional, it plays well, and the graphics are fab. What more of an endorsement could you ask for? If you haven't already, get your ass over to Steam and get this demo downloaded. Great job DDI Interactive. I'm looking forward to seeing how the finished product turns out. If you have already given this demo a try, let me know what you think of it in the comments below. I'll be interested in your thoughts. Right gang, time to call it a day there, so I have been Mr. Thunderwing, and I will catch you again sometime soon. Cheerio!